Yes, ma'am.
Ooh, we already have people in the waiting room.
Hello.
Hello, hello. Ooh, 4 people? Okay.
Nice. Hello, people. School people.
All right, so we're just going to wait on a few more classes to join, and then we'll get started.
No problemo. Hey, I made this shirt while we're.
Very cool.
It's like sketched and edited. Hold on, I can try to come closer.
Oh,
maybe
nice.
I can show the digital file later. I have on my
Very
computer.
cool.
But yeah, it's my friends. They're in a group. Huh?
I said multifaceted.
Yeah, you gotta be. You gotta be these days. Unless you're, well, I guess this is STEM, so actually maybe not so much for STEM.
No, STEM is could be integrated in all aspects, art, music.
Absolutely.
Everywhere.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's not like in the arts now, like you just have to do everything. Like you used to be you could just be a painter, you find a good patron, now it's like, no, you have to be PR, you have to be the businessman, you have to be the painter, you have to be, the architect of the space, you have to be a curator, a networker. Like they want everything. They don't want,
And you have to be able to like create a team that you're comfortable with.
That, yes, and we'll talk. Yeah, I will talk about that. Oh, we definitely will talk about that. Yeah, that's probably the most important. Actually, people can be like not very good at what they do necessarily, but passionate, and if they have the right team, I mean, it just takes off. You see the difference right away.
All right, for people that are coming in, I see we have, I'm going to assume 6 classes right now. So our engineer for today is Sisco Hollard, who works in architecture and is also an artist, if you couldn't tell by the conversation that we're having.
And this little drawings in the background.
T-shirt that he made.
I got some more drawings. I could go through some drawings later, but we can talk about that after.
How much time we have, and we definitely could.
Okay.
All right, so we can get started. I think there's quite a few people in.
Okay.
Sisco, do you want to tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from, your schooling?
Yeah, I would love to. Well, so a little bit about me. I was born in New Jersey, which is pretty random. I lived there. I grew up till like mid elementary, like 3rd grade. I grew up in central Jersey, and then I moved to Paris, France. My family's French, so like I'm a son of immigrants. My mom's from the Caribbean. So I speak French, I speak Spanish, Creole, Portuguese. The Portuguese came later from college, and the Spanish kind of like throughout life. But yeah, we speak French at home, and then so I moved to Paris, and then I did middle school and high school in Madison region in McFarland, Wisconsin, southern Wisconsin. And I did my bachelor's of architecture at UW. I'm in Milwaukee, UW Milwaukee. It's called SARB, School of Architecture and Urban Planning. And then after college, you'll hear this a lot with kids our age, and I think the guy yesterday said the same thing. You have a degree. What do you do with this? Everyone's like, so what have you done? And I'm like, I went to school. So I had to, you had to go learn, try your professional stuff. I worked in an architecture firm in Kenosha for a year. Right after school, I actually no. Before that, I actually was slinging pizzas for Ian Pizza.
For
Ian's
what pizza place?
Yep.
Because I know my students, they talk about Domino's Pizza like it's the holy grail. So was it Domino's?
No, it was Ian's Pizza. Actually, if you go to Milwaukee, it's like a local, but kind of like a chain. It's Wisconsinites are very proud of this pizza chain. I mean, I was proud to work there. But it didn't pay, the way that architecture would. So, and also, so after college, I was creating a lot of art, and I realized that there's a lot of talent around me that was being wasted from lack of resources. And I saw the gentrification happening in North Milwaukee, and I was friends with people from, the hood. And those affected regions. So I set up an organization of creatives to come together and try to create events to try to bridge, to try to break down the segregation in the artist scene. And it worked out, but it was a little expensive. So I ended up moving. And so anyway, that kind of fell through, and I ended up back at home in Madison for a little while, trying to piece together what's happening. And while that was happening, I made some really good friends in Chicago. Long story short, they're like, "You should just come do that over here," and and here I am. And here I am, and it's and so we founded a couple of collectives out here. Kinky Eddie is one of them. That's more known. There's also They Live Collective, and it's just multimedia, interdisciplinary, really experimental, just trying to get ideas out, just trying to, support each other in a grassroots way.
Nice. And then what are some successes that you've had, whether that was in, going to school for architecture or the collectives that you have started, the community work that you've done?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've had plenty of successes. In even just when I went to college, I had a scholarship for architecture. Actually, I had a construction scholarship from Findorf, and because there's not a lot of kids our age going into architecture anymore. So there's actually a lot of opportunity for, like black and mixed and brown colored kids of our age, to really make an impact and really show that they care about this profession, and it'll reward you. I mean, my fourth year, I had a full ride scholarship for learning Portuguese, like they were going to send me to Brazil.
Wow.
Yeah. To make architecture comics and stuff. I was specializing in comics
and I think
architecture.
Like the parts that is often overlooked. There are so many opportunities to study overseas and go abroad.
So much.
I think could be stressing a little bit more.
Yeah, and one thing that needs to be stressed is that the U.S. government has priority languages. It has priority languages based off of the enemies of the state. So if you learn Mandarin, if you learn Arabic, if you learn Portuguese, because we have a weird relationship with Brazil, if you learn Swahili, not Swahili, but I mean, if you just learn, Russian's a big one. They will pay for your school. They'll pay for like all of it. There's fellowships all across the country, and they are like desperate to find people. So it's a great opportunity. And the thing is that they will complement what you're working in. So they didn't say, "Hey, Sisco, you need to stop doing architecture. You need to stop doing art." They said, "Do you want to do this over there, or do you want to do this while learning this stuff here?"
Utilize your talents.
Yeah, exactly.
Over here. So I see we're getting a few questions in the chat. So I think we're going to get into your art a little bit more in a few minutes. But one of the questions was, what was your favorite school, middle school, high school, or college?
Ooh. I mean, y'all in 8th grade, I guess it's the whole school, but I ain't gonna lie, I was not the biggest fan of middle school. It's tough. Middle school is a tough time. High school is very liberating, but college is, I mean, it's like you really figure out who you are.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say college, probably college. I don't know. High school was good too for me. I liked high school.
And I think also something that's very important to stress is the higher education that you go, the more opportunities that you have, right? So in middle school, you might have some opportunities. In high school, those opportunities open up more. And then in college, you have a ton of opportunities.
Right. And I have to say that, I mean, I'm also pretty unique in how I did my schooling because at every chance that I got, I took the independent route. So even in high school, when I did advanced art, I did what was called Advanced Art 2, which is, it's just like a independent project. They work with you. You tell them what you want to create, and then they create a rubric. And it kind of worked like that in college too. I even did an independent study when I traveled to France, and I made a comic book. I made an architecture comic book.
Nice.
Yeah, I can actually I might have that file. I'll check. But yeah, so and that's actually how I got that Portuguese scholarship. Was I showed them that comic book, and they're like, "Oh, cool! Like, do this stuff for us," and it really worked well for me to just kind of not go with the flow of the academic route, and to say, no, I like doing this, and no one's gonna provide this opportunity for me. I have to go and make sure that they know. Communication is key for sure.
And I think that also speaks to motivation, right? So you need to be self-motivated if you are doing all of this for yourself. We're getting a lot of questions, but in terms of motivation, have you ever been unmotivated, and then how did you get yourself out of that?
You will be. I mean, of course. Oh man, of course. You can't be in art and not have large periods of motivation. At least as far as I know a lot of artists, and I mean sometimes it could take years. Like this drawing phase I'm in, I didn't draw for 2 years before this. I just was doing architecture. I couldn't think like that. One thing about creativity, at least for me, is that when it takes me, it overwhelms me. So there was a time where I couldn't do architecture and art at the same time because it was too much. It was like those sides of the brains are fighting, and I had to be like, all right, let me get good at this one, and I'll come back to that one. So sometimes you might think you're unmotivated, but it's actually just your subconscious saying, hey, you want to do something else for a bit.
Yeah.
And it's good to not fight that.
Other questions. So, two. Did you like 5th grade? Do you remember your 5th grade year?
I remember every year of school. I'm one of those people. I remember every project. I loved 5th grade.
There you go, Ms. Vasquez. And then a question from a student. How was life for you in school?
Well, I grew up in white suburbs most of my life. And school for me was always awesome because I loved learning, and I still do. And I'm just like, I'll just retain stuff just because I like having information. But I mean, school's isolating sometimes, and like I said, I grew up in all white suburbs, a mixed kid. It wasn't, and foreign. It wasn't always obvious. It wasn't, and being creative and weird. You can get bullied. You can some of that stuff. But I don't know. Like I said, I've always been very individualistic and motivated. So really, I just took it as, oh well, You guys will find out.
Look at me now.
Look at me now, exactly. Yeah, you'll find out.
Let's talk about what your like daily routine is. What does a normal day look like for you? And then how has the pandemic affected that? Because I know for us and for our students, it's been very difficult to transition into remote learning. So I'm curious how you're dealing with that and what your day looks like.
Yeah. Well, my day to day, I work here. This is it. You're in my office. These are my coworkers. This is my coworker. I don't, on a day to day, I don't interact. I just stay home. And I've been lucky to work for a digital company. But actually, in a weird way, I was more effective than the average person because I'm an architectural surveyor. So that's the thing. My day job, I was talking about sort of like my passions and like my life mission to be in the arts and empower the artists. But my day job, I measure hospitals and I survey them. So I literally go across the country. I travel across the country and go to specific hospitals, and I gather that information and I turn it into blueprints so that the engineers can make better quality of service, fire exits, like those maps that you see, you're like, oh, cool, you are here, Exactly. I make those. But I make the big one. I make the one of all the buildings. And it has to be right. It has to be reverse engineered to be correct. And it's not as simple as you think. A lot of numbers.
I bet.
Actually, I can maybe show the my slide for half a second.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Let's see if I can figure this out. Chrome tab. Here we go.
I'm gonna add this screen.
Okay. So, oh, whoops. Okay. So, what is architectural surveying? My family asks me this question all the time. They still don't really get it. But basically, the idea is architectural surveying is measuring accurately using a laser. I have something called a disto, which I'll show you an image of after, but I have one right here. It's one of these nifty little things. And I don't know if you can see, but it creates a laser point and it tells me the exact measurement. And that's up to 1/32 of an inch. So it's like thinner than a hair.
Wow.
So I go and I run around these hospitals. You can kind of see it in this image. You see these numbers that are going across. Those are called dimension strings. They're like pink numbers in there. And so I take all those, I go in person with these large sheets, these floor plans, and I go and I walk around and I have like this special tag. I have, master keys. I mean, everyone knows me. I have to talk to everyone. The top to the bottom. And I go to every single room and I document the existing layout, if there's any fixtures. So that means sinks, windows, doors, what millwork, which is stuff that's built into the wall, cabinets. I mean, really anything that's stuck into the wall or into the ground, I take note of it. And then I take that information, I go back to my office, and we create verified floor plans using the new information. And the way that we do that is we take all of those numbers and we do floor by floor. So if there's like 15 floors, I have to do every single floor first. and then I make sure that they are 100% on top of each other. And it changes a lot. You'd be surprised. There's huge issues. Our information is hard to put together sometimes.
I bet, especially since there's so much of it.
Exactly. So that's the gist of my job. I travel a lot. You know, I fly around, and this is an example of one hospital I did. The same one that's in the image. This was in San Francisco. This is one of my favorite ones, and so I showed it. It's a very beautiful survey. It's really fun to go to places that are nice. Like San Francisco, I have a great time going there. I've also gone to like Arizona, New Jersey, New York, been to Houston. We go everywhere. But so I go, you know, we document, we use these Google images and stuff, and we make sure that everything is 100% right. Like I know the size of each one of those little lines, even on the windows, and even like how far the glass is from like the edge of the building. I mean, it's all this extra information. And yeah, like I said, I go to every single room. I go to the morgue, so I see the dead bodies. I go under the elevator shaft, so I see the creepy tunnels with all the energy lines and everything.
That's scary.
I go to the rooftop, so I see the helicopter pads. I see like the weird antennas that are like maybe radioactive, and you're not sure if you're gonna be there.
But that also ties into the engineering habits of mind, right? Like you need to be able to communicate very, very well with all of the people that you're working with, and you need to be able to work well with the people that you're working with, or even like the hospitals that you're going to.
100%.
So can you talk a little bit about how the engineering habits of mind drive your work? And then we'll get into some of the questions because we are getting quite a few of them.
Oh,
and
okay.
When I'm talking about the engineering habits of mind, I'm talking about collaboration. I'm talking about ethical considerations. I'm talking about communication, optimism, and creativity, which I know are all important to what you do.
Yeah, that's almost the prerequisite list for this job. I mean, like I said, communication is the whole job. We're given master keys, but those don't actually work for every door. People don't know that. Master keys aren't actually meant to open every door. So that means I have to go to entire departments as a stranger. I walk in with a badge, with the number, with a card, everything. Say, hello, my name is Sisco Hollard. I'm an architectural surveyor. I have to take these measurements, blah, blah, blah. It'll take 10 minutes of your time. Here's this number if you need it, blah, blah, blah. So that communication has to be at every level when we're working. Oh, sorry. When we're working with these hospitals, because yeah, it can get hairy. It can get pretty hairy if you don't communicate well. That's when honestly things become more dangerous, and you kind of don't finish projects. Sometimes you can't finish a project if you're not talking to the administration and trying to make things easier for everyone. In terms of collaboration, we work in teams. So actually, we usually work with one other person because you need someone else to kind of like stop the laser on certain hallways. So yeah, learning how to work with someone else who has your same competencies is very interesting. Very interesting. Sometimes telling.
I was gonna say, have you ever worked with somebody who you normally probably wouldn't get along with, but you had to get along with them because this was the job?
All the time. All the time. And you know what? You'll even work with people you can't stand. You can't stand and might be bad at their job. That's the worst one. When they're bad at their job, but you don't have a choice because you're their partner. So if anything, that's just an opportunity for you to practice your job better, and kind of hopefully lead by example. You don't want to be the person to say, "Hey, you suck,"
Right.
That's not good communication. But what is better is to be like, "Hey, like this is the speed I go at. Here, here are the measures that I take, and you know, and then like maybe try to explain it, but without being patronizing or like trying to be too much. You know, you just have to make sure that you're friends with them first, or at least cool with them first, you know, because you're going to be working with them.
Right. All right, let's get into some of these questions. And did you want to say something else about the engineering habits of mind?
No, I mean, I would say that one other thing is maybe pacing. Engineers have ridiculous work paces. And when I came into this field, I came in as a designer. Designers are much more laid back, at least in my experience. Engineers will not sleep. They will go. They will just keep going. So you better have that work ethic. You know, that's like the most important thing to engineers. They don't care if you're good at it. Just keep going.
Keep working. So we have a question from 3rd grade. What art form is your favorite? Like what medium, what materials do you like to use?
I have them right here. I love designer markers. They're so cool. Oh, you can see. I have like a ton of colors. These are pigment colors, which means they're almost like paint markers. And the reason why I like them is because they work better with ink. They're waterproof. So that becomes an issue sometimes because waterproof markers kind of rub away, they erase when you erase. But no, I love drawing. Basically, I really love drawing. I love comic books. I make comics. So yeah, I really love that stuff. I also like making digital art. I really like I make 3D models and stuff like that. So
cool. I know we have a couple 3D printers at the school that we're trying to start.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Definitely get into that technology because that's not going anywhere. That's only getting more used.
All right. So one question was, how old are you?
I'm 27.
And how long have you been at your job?
Well, this one, 3 years. 3 years. But I've been doing this, I mean, the creative stuff, it's been a while, almost a decade. I would say I have 5+ years of like what I would call real professional experience. I graduated in 2015. So yeah, about like 6 to 7 years of like working in the field. But even before I was doing kind of what I was doing now.
And then, Sisco, do you see the comments on your end?
No, actually, hold on.
So people are very fascinated by your job.
Oh, cool. Yeah, no, I can't see
positive comments. 5th grade wants to know if you could show some of your comics.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I realized that. Yeah, it would take a little bit for me to pull up the digital one, but I can show you some images I'm working on right now. This is an illustration I did. This is Cab Calloway. He was living in Bronzeville, Chicago. It was a piece on gentrification that I did for a friend. I don't know if you can.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. Oh, you know what? Hold on. Actually, I have some in my slide. Oh yeah, there you go. This is a logo I did for the Kinky Yeti collective. So I really go like super detailed and super simple.
Wow.
I try to like, my thing is just to be universal. I want to try everything. So, you know, like those are pencil and ink. But then under that, that's colored pencil. That's the Unity Church in Madison. Madison, Wisconsin, Frank Lloyd Wright building. So I did those in college, I think. Yeah, at the end of college, my last year. Here's some other work I've done. It just like, yeah, I kind of do everything.
But it seems like like both of your I don't want to say skills because it's more than just skills, but the architecture work and the art like go hand in hand.
Absolutely.
Like a lot of what I'm seeing is very like structure based.
Yes. Well, thank you. Yeah, it does. It doesn't always. This is a little known fact about architects. Most architects don't draw like they're good at numbers and they're good at like, being ordered. But this, I was always an artist first, so I'll say that. And there's definitely a place for that. It's a little harder. It's a little bit harder for that. But there's a place. Actually, I think that today with the way Instagram is, like the way that social media works, there's more of a place than when I was in high school, for digital artists, for creative people in general, honestly.
Definitely. To get their art out to more people. Oh
yeah. And don't get me started. NFTs and stuff like that, man. Your generation, they have access to so much good stuff.
Yeah.
So much good stuff. So no, I think it's great. If you're creative, the world is yours today. But just don't let anyone. My mom told me not to do it so many times in my life. So many times. I never listened to it.
But you got to work hard at what you're doing. You can't not put in everything that you've got into it.
Exactly.
All right, I have a question from fourth grade. Aaron wants to know if you've always wanted to be an engineer, even when you were a child, like in the field of engineering.
When I was a child, I wanted to be a soccer player. I wanted to play for France, and I wanted to make art. But you know what? I had a teacher in kindergarten that told me, you're good at math and you're good at art, so you're going to be an architect. And she knew.
Wow.
She knew, yeah. I remember yeah, it's weird. And I think growing up, when I was young, I was kind of obsessed with cathedrals. My grandfather would take me to see, he would take me to Paris to see Notre Dame. And to see all the beautiful basilicas in France. And I think that really kind of, without knowing it, set me up to think like that. Because not a lot of architecture, at least in America, we don't think of architecture as something that's like a creative passion. Like we kind of think of it as like, oh, you're building a house, or oh, you're building, we're very utilitarian. And I always wanted to be utilitarian. I always wanted to be useful, but I knew that my passion was the creative side, So I hope that answers that. I don't know.
Definitely. And then I know we don't have that much time left.
Okay.
I know we didn't really talk about like the grassroots work that you do.
Oh.
Did you want to touch on that really briefly, and then maybe end it with some advice that you would give the students?
Absolutely. Yeah. I would love that. Absolutely. So grassroots work. I've always been a what's known as a populist, meaning that it doesn't matter, Democrat, Republican, black, white, blah blah blah. So long as so long as it's for the people, so long as it's for the community, I support that. So the way that looks for a creative like me is that, for example, I knew that like my scene wasn't experimental enough in art because everyone around me was kind of satisfied with just drawing, doing simple stuff. And so I challenged my friends and I challenged the people that I would meet to go outside of I'm sorry, someone flamed me in the comments, and that is funny as heck. Talk about Barney.
Unprofessional on their end.
And it's okay. That's how my friends talk to me, so I'm not even bugged.
But they're not students. You should be respectful of the speaker.
But anyway, so basically, you know, grassroots work. It's like you just realize what is available to you in your community and what the things that aren't being used. You know, the things that aren't being tapped into. For me in Wisconsin, I mean, it was just so obvious that people weren't dealing with Black people at all. Black culture, Black anything. And for me, like, you know, I'm proudly Caribbean, so, and proudly Black. So it was a no-brainer to just kind of try and find the people who looked like me and thought like me. And that's the power of grassroots work, is that it's actually not complicated. It just takes motivation and direction. Because I started with nothing. I had no grants. I had no sponsorships, no job, no interest. My own parents didn't even care about what I was doing, to be honest with you. They were like, oh, that's cool, but like, what's this kid doing? I don't know. But once it grows, and it takes a couple years for you to even know exactly what you're looking at, if it's a collective, if you want to, create a company, if you want to create a non-for-profit, which is what my friends and I are kind of working towards, to work with kids, the creative kids, and work towards eco solutions in our areas. So yeah, it's like you just have to kind of figure out who are your people, and yeah.
Is that
and your day ones matter. Don't forget your day ones.
Is that what you
draw? Don't forget your fans.
Don't forget who?
Your fans, your friends are your fans. Those are the people you want to hang out with. Those are the people you want to keep around you.
Definitely. All right. Well, thank you so much, Sisco, for talking to us.
Thank you.
Yeah. And that's where we'll end it. So have a fantastic day. Thank you for everybody for tuning in. And I'm going to end the live now.
Bye, peeps. Catch you later.
Bye-bye.